G'day Saners. Let a few people tune in for the second official preview for the season. The first one being about 88 days ago, so it's been a long time coming. A lot has happened between round one, the season being suspended, our loss to North Melbourne. G'day. Welcome everyone. It's been so long. Apologies if I'm a bit rusty. It seems like it's been over a year since I've had to do this, but I'm so excited to be back, to be talking about our Saners. Welcome everyone. Thank you for watching. The teams have just come out. Interesting to see Dylan Roberton has been omitted. I'm not sure if there's some underlying issue with his heart or another injury that we're not sure about, or he just didn't play well in round one. But I figured that going into a game against the Bulldogs, who have a lot of tall timber, you look at the likes of, obviously we're coming up against Josh Bruce again, the first time against his old team. It's going to be interesting to see how the boys take that situation and whether we get into his face. They've also got, obviously Aaron Norton, who's one of the big up-and-coming forwards of the AFL. And with Robbo being omitted, you're looking at this backline at the moment. You've got Ben Patton, Cal Wilkie, Dougal Howard, Ben Long, Hunter Clark and Jaron Geary. And right there, that backline is probably not going to do the job. I think on the likes of Bruce, Norton, you've got Sam Lloyd who drops there. You've got Billy Gowers as well, who can take a mark above his head. So we've only got the one tall at the moment. Obviously, there's an extended bench, and when you look at the extended bench with Robbo coming out, obviously you think one of Jake Carlisle or Josh Battle is going to come in. So I think it's the battle of, no pun intended there, but the battle of who out of those two takes that Robbo spot. So for me, Josh Battle is more versatile, and I think that's something that could be used well against the Dogs. But then again, we probably don't need another forward, because looking at it, and I think there was an article a few weeks ago saying that because of the shortened quarters, because of this and that, a lot of teams are going to be looking to have that one ruckman. And, obviously round one we played with Paddy Ryder, we played with Rowan Marshall, and that experiment was okay. It didn't blossom like we thought it would, but obviously early days, the first time these two are playing together. But in this instance, they've named Paddy Ryder in the forward pocket, so the forward line has a good look to it. You've got Jack Loney at the half forward flank. You've got Max King, Jack Billings named in the forward line. Usually he's up on a wing with Brad Hill, but they've put him forward. Dan Hanbury is now on that wing. And then you've got Paddy Ryder, Tim Membry, and I love this, Jade Gresham forward pocket. Now, this is something that excites me because, as you guys know, I've said from last year, the year before, everyone was saying, we need players that can go into the midfield, they can get 30 touches, 40 touches. Gresham's done that, and he proved that last season. I think he averaged over, 22, 23 possessions a game. He was, in round one, I think he was our best clearance player. I think he had 9 or 10 clearances because we played him in the guts. But for me, when you've got Zach Jones in the middle, you've got Brad Hill, you've got all these sort of players. You've got Luke Dunstan, who's on the fringe. Whether he gets picked or not is another question, but he's in that extended bench along with Dan Butler. You've got Nick Hine. Jono Marsh is another one that I think is interesting. He's got pace. He's got power. He can kick goals. We saw him play forward a little bit in the Marsh series, and I thought he was excellent. I thought he showed some dynamism. He was exciting. He gave us a different angle. And because he's big, that poses its own problem with the Bulldogs backline, because they're not, I wouldn't say they're the worst backline we've come up against, but, when you look at it, they've got Ryan Gardner, Alex Keith, he's okay. Then you've got Bailey Williams, Crozier, Johannesson and Caleb Daniel. There's not a lot of height there, and I think that's where we can expose them. And the key there is obviously delivery. First half against North Melbourne, all of you would agree we were frothing. We were like, shit, this is good. We're on this season. We were 5 goals up. We were hitting targets. Brad Hill was hitting Tim Membry on the tit, and everyone was really excited. And, it all looked beautiful. And then obviously, second half comes across and shit hit the fan. We lose. Everyone kind of thinks negatively. But if you look at that forward half, pressure in that first half, the fact that we got up by 5 goals in that first half was great. Obviously, we let it go, but I think there was a lot of positives that we forgot about from that first half. And I think if we can utilise a lot of what we did against North in that first half against the Dogs, we're on our way. Because the Dogs are, they love free-flowing football. They love it uncontested. I hope that we go the opposite. I hope we make it a contest, we make it hard, and then we have those players on the outside, like the Brad Hills, the Zach Jones. Then you've got Billings. Gresham can rotate. You get them on the outside. I think we've got a better balance of inside and outs. A lot of people probably think I'm bullshitting and I'm being really biased, but I think they're more of an outside team. I think apart from maybe Bontempelli, you've got Dunkley, who's probably a contested player. They've got a lot of players that, I don't know, they want to get that feeding handball. They don't want to get in and get the ball. And I think we've got a lot of players like the Zach Jones who will get in, but he'll get out. Then you've got Dunstan. You've got obviously Jack Steele, who's enormous in that aspect of his game. Hunter Clark can rotate there. Ben Long coming off half-back. I think we've got a lot more versatility in our game. It's just a matter of where we go in terms of Carlisle Battle. I think that's the most intriguing one because everyone pre-season said, Battle's the sort of player that most teams really need. They need that versatility. But then if you ask any Saints fan, where does Battle play? You can't really pick a spot. Is he a backman? We probably don't need him there right now. Is he a forward? We've got King, Membry, Marshall rotating, Paddy Ryder. There's no room there. Is he a midfielder? He could well be. He could be a big mid, but that question mark over his head is going to be a good and a bad thing at the same time. But overall, looking at the team, I don't know if you guys, give me a thumbs up if you think it's good. Looking at it now, I think that's a good team. It's a solid team. You've still got the likes of Nick Caulfield, who hasn't played this season. Dean Kent, he is on the extended bench, but he played in round 1. He had 16 or 14 disposals. He only went at 43% efficiency. And when, Brett Ratton came out and we played that game against Sydney, and he called out, we need to use the ball better, and he's not going to tolerate shit ball users. Dean Kent going at 43% in round 1. You probably think that he's on the edge there. And, it wouldn't be surprising if Robbo was the same, if he didn't use the ball, at his best. And obviously, first game back in a while for Robbo in round 1. Bit harsh to be dropped, but maybe this is a statement, early in the season to say, I'm not going to tolerate this no matter who you are. Robbo, who's been out for 2 years with a heart problem, you play one bad game, mate, you're straight out. And that's the same with everyone else. So I like that message that omission gives to the team. And in terms of, obviously, the Bulldogs, won't harp on them too much. They're a good team. Pre-season, everyone talked about them being top 4 material. Everyone bigged them. They pumped them up. They said that this was going to be their chance to win another premiership from 2016. And then you see round 1 come up against a very good contested and outside team, Collingwood, and they get battered. They only kick about 5 or 6 goals for the game at Marvel Stadium, under the roof. That's where we're playing on Sunday, 6:05. I don't know if you guys agree, but that's a bit of a shit time. Footy's on tonight and I'm pumped, but waiting that long, you're kind of used to it when you're a Saints fan. You're used to having that shit Sunday twilight time, but it is what it is. Just to have football back is amazing, and it's been a long time coming. But overall, I'm happy with this team. I think we can get the job done, and geez, we need to, because next week we've got Collingwood, then we've got Richmond, and then we've got Carlton, and by the time we play Carlton, they might be full of confidence depending on whatever results they get, So this is a really important game. We need to become 1-1. If we go 0-2 going into a Collingwood-Richmond game, that sets us back a long way, because both of them are, top 3 material, flagged favourites in their own right the last 2 years, grand finalists, premiers as well. It's going to be hard to play them, Collingwood at the G and then Richmond again, so we've got a good record against the Dogs. We played them, I think if you guys remember, I think it was Brett Ratton's first game as caretaker coach. I don't think he was officially coach at that point just yet, but we won, we came out, we kicked 7 goals in the first quarter, and we pretty much blew them away. Late surge at the end of the game, and then we took over. I'll leave it there for me. I'm going to go to some comments now, so just bear with me so I scroll all the way to the top, because there's actually been quite a few, which is great. Emmett says, I've missed these previews. Thanks a lot. Jessica says, hi, we are back, says Luke Stubbs. We are back. It's going to be good as long as we don't lose badly on Sunday, and then you guys see me rant. I really want to save ranting for later in the year, because I already did it in round 1. Do not want to do it again in round 2. Cameron says, was actually saying Wilkie on Bruce would be a good option. Hopefully we keep him goalless. It would be great to keep Bruce goalless. But, he's a quality contested mark. If he gets good delivery, we know what he can do. And it's good having a backline that knows the patterns of Josh Bruce. But Bruce is a very contested mark player. So I can see Dougal Howard as being, that golden fist to come in and smash it. He's got the speed, he's got the height, he's got the physicality. And I think he's got the ball used to run off Bruce. Because Bruce, we know as Saints fans, wasn't the best when the ball hit the ground. He wasn't great defensively. So if we can get the ball into the hands of Ben Long, you've got Hunter Clark, even Dougal Howard, Ben Patton, a lot of versatility, a lot of smalls in that backline that can use the ball, then I think we can exploit them, because I can't see Bruce Norton or Sam Lloyd being genuine defensive forwards. Sam Lloyd coming from Richmond, he's got that sort of aspect to his game, but I can't see, Norton and Bruce doing that. So if we can get the ball to ground, I think then we've got to that puts us into a good position. Lynn says, I hope Bruce does really well, just not this weekend. What's up with Webster? That's a good question. Mitchell, he's been out for a while. And when you look at, 2 years ago, and I mentioned this, I think in the podcast on Tuesday night with Marshy and Joycey, 2 years ago, he was a lock. He was that hope that we wanted in the back line. He can get his ball, he can actually kick. We didn't have a lot of good ball users 2-3 years ago. We're getting better at it now, but Webster was almost one of the first names in that back line, on the board, on the magnets. And now he can't get into the team. And you look at it, Ben Patton played well in round 1, probably deserves to stay in. He's listed on field, so he's not getting dropped. He's not going to lose his spot. Cal Wilkie, definitely not going to lose his spot. Dougal Howard, obviously not. Ben Long, exciting, has that new position at halfback flank. And then you've got Hunter Clark and Geary. There's really no position for him. It's a difficult time for him. So he's going to have to just buy his time, keep training really well, do well in match simulation, and just beat the door down. But, maybe long term he's not the answer for Ratton. Maybe there's something in his game that Rats just doesn't feel comfortable with. Flynn says, wishing it was free to wear. I know. We've got games free to wear and live in America, apparently, but we're not going to get them here, which is bullshit. Battle In says, Radley. Jessica says, bring in Battle. My hopes for this game, this is Ryan. My hopes for this game is for the boys to remind us why we missed the footy and give us some hope for what is to come. That is a great comment there, Ryan. You don't want to come, you don't want it to be 8:30, 9 o'clock on a Sunday night and we're thinking, shit, can we have COVID-19 again and go back into hibernation, because I do not want to watch the Saints. We want to have a big win and then we want to get on a roll. And, when you've got Collingwood the next week, you need to have a big win. You need to get that sort of confidence up. And Collingwood tonight's playing Richmond, so if it's a very physical game, Collingwood might be a bit bruised and battered. We come up against them on Saturday next week, off a big win, full of confidence, at the G. Anything can happen. And we know last year we actually took it to them for 3/4 of the G, so it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. Radley also says, I hope Butler doesn't get dropped. He's one that I actually think might get dropped. I don't think he did enough in round 1. He didn't kick a goal. And his pressure was okay, but he just didn't do enough outside of his pressure acts. Lee says Carlisle must play, missed him in round 1. I think a peak Carlisle needs to play. And no offence to Josh Battle, but Jake Carlisle at centre half back, taking a Norton or a Bruce, I think that's an easy pickup if he's fully fit, because we haven't seen a fully fit Jake Carlisle in at least a season and a half. But from all reports, he's really fit, he's training well. I can't see why we wouldn't play him. Lynn says Gresh will hopefully improve his goal-kicking accuracy. That's what he is missing. I agree with you there. He's had so many chances lately, especially in round 1. He had a few, but he went for a banana on the angle. He tries to put the icing on the cake, and I said this in the podcast or off air, that he's putting icing on a cake. There's no cake. He needs to build up to that. He needs to do all the hard work first, then he can do the tricks. He's trying to just skip to doing the tricks. So hopefully going back to playing him in the forward pocket, where I think he's most damaging and where he's kicked his most goals in his Saints career so far, he can just go back to basics, rove off Tim Membry and Max King and kick a couple of goals for us. Lynn says backline doesn't matter if we don't let the ball get down there too often. That's a very good point. Benjamin says, is it going to be raining again this weekend? Just a bit of a reference to It's Raining Kent, the chant from a couple of seasons ago from Aisle 29. If you guys haven't seen it, you should see it. It's a ripper. Jessica says, what do you think about the late night Sunday time slot? I mentioned it just before. I think it's shit, but I'd rather that than no football at all. So just to have football, to watch a whole round and see all of our opponents coming up and see how they go, and then have us at 6 o'clock on a Sunday night. I mean, I've got time off work. I've got 2 weeks off work, so Sunday night's no problem for me. If people are working the next day or have other commitments, Sunday night, it's a shit time, but it is what it is. At least the next 3 weeks we've got Saturday afternoons, so no more Sundays for the next month. Dave says, won't take long, saying there's big things to come. Felicity says, will Nick Hind play? That's a very good question. He didn't play in round 1. He was a big part of the excitement factor from last season. I think, personally, I don't think he plays. Therese says, go Saints. Radley says they said they tried him mid, but they didn't think it was a good fit. Agree with that. Julie says, go Saints. John says, don't care which 22 you put out there as long as they give 22, 100%. Go Saints. The media doesn't give us a chance. I agree with that. The media hates us. David King's already come out and started talking shit about us on Fox Footy. He talked us up in pre-season. We have one bad half against his old team, and he's pretty much written us off. But that's fine. That's kind of what Saints fans are used to. We're used to people writing us off, putting up 09 and 10, people still wrote us off, and although we didn't win the ultimate, we were still a very, very good team. So hopefully, going into Sunday's game, we take that and use that as motivation. Luke says, good to have you back, mate. Footy back, hell yeah. Thanks, Luke. It is good to be back. It's good to actually talk about footy and not just sit every day and just, look at the watch and count down the days when footy's going to be back. Because it has been, I reckon it's at least been nearly 3 months. It's March 14th, I think we played, or March 24th. We're now playing on June 14th. So if you had told me that's how long I had to wait for footy to come back, I would have said, get stuffed. But we've pulled through. Hopefully there's no other COVID-19 issues coming up. And we can just play footy and hopefully get, supporters back. I can't wait to actually get to games. That's one thing that, in Queensland and Adelaide, they're pushing for. And I think Adelaide have got at least 2,000 supporters going to the showdown this weekend. So this time next month we could actually be seeing some supporters at games. Luke's asking, who do you reckon will be best on ground? I think Jack Steele will be best on ground. I think he'll have 28. I think he'll have 11 tackles and kick 1 snag, and I think he'll get more Supercoach points than Bont. That's my call. Let's keep going. Would you sit Ryder full forward or in a pocket? I mean, it doesn't really matter. Paddy Ryder, this is Mark asking the question. Good question, Mark. I think he's going to rotate the 50. He can play half forward. He can play full forward. It depends on what Tim Membry does. Tim Membry does like to float to the wing, go higher up the ground, give us that option out of the back line. Max King to sit deep, and I think then Paddy Ryder around half forward and pressing back is going to cause problems, and that gives Rowe Marshall the chance to dominate in the ruck, which is what he didn't get to do in round 1 because he had that other, ruckman rotating, and I think that kind of put him off his game. So hopefully we just see Paddy Ryder more forward than a ruck in this game. Aviva's asking what's with Robertson. I'm not sure on that. A lot of random questions here. Russell's saying, I reckon the 2020 season is opening up nicely for the Saints. Could well do. We look like we're in good condition. I mean, a lot of teams look like that at this time of the year, but that time off might actually work for us. We've gotten a lot of players back from injury, a lot of players that were under an injury cloud, like Gresham, Carlisle, even Jimmy Webster, all these sort of guys, but they're back and they're fully fit. So that creates, pressure for positions, and that's the best thing. That's what all the best teams have. That's what Richmond's, Collingwood's, West Coast, that's what they have. They have, one player that, drops off on field, they've already got someone ready to go, and that puts that player under pressure. And that's something we haven't had for a long time. There's a lot of random comments from Paul Porter here. Thanks for those. Whoa. what is going on with Paul Porter? I don't know, but I might leave it there, guys, for the first live preview for the season. Thank you very much for tuning in. The next time you'll see me is Sunday night after the game, around 9 o'clock, or whenever the game finishes. Hopefully we're singing the song and we are happy Sainers, and we go 1-1 into round 3 against Collingwood next week. If you haven't had a chance to comment, or you want me to answer anything, just put it in the comments and I'll respond after this video is done. But in the meantime, thanks so much for watching. Quick plug for the Saints TV podcast. We do it every Tuesday night. It goes out onto Spotify, iTunes every Wednesday morning. If you haven't already listened to it, it'd be great if you did. We've already interviewed Ahmed Saad. We've interviewed Farron Ray this week, Justin Kaszewski last week, a mad Saints fan, also comedian Aaron Gox. And it's been really well received. So thanks to everyone who's messaged saying they've enjoyed it. It's pretty high quality. It's got myself, Joycey and Marshy on there, and it's a bit of banter, talking about the footy, interviewing some players. Hopefully in the next few weeks we can get players like Montagna, Milne. Would love to get the G-Train on, but I don't think he does media very well lately, but that's a goal of ours, is to get the G-Train on. But if you haven't listened to it, it'd be great if you did. And let me know what you think. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you Sunday night for hopefully a big win. Go Saints!